Hello, and welcome to another episode of Frame and Reference. I'm your host, Kenny McMillan, and today we're talking with Jenna Rocher, the DP of the film The World's a Little Blurry, the Billie Eilish documentary. It's a fantastic film. Highly recommend you watch it. It's on Apple Plus, Apple TV Plus, which gotta hand it to Apple TV. They've got their own screener app on the old Roku, which is cool. Anyway, like I said, fantastic documentary. Jenna is a wealth of knowledge. I certainly learned a lot. Had a lot of fun talking to her, and I think you'll have a lot of fun listening to her. So, yeah, that's all I got for the intro. I will say, if it does sound a little choppy, it's because I was having a real hard time putting together sentences. I'll say I was really excited. I don't know. If anyone who knows me knows that sometimes I'll start a different question, dovetail to a completely different question, and then end up somewhere else. And so for your sanity, I've cut that out. But unfortunately for Jenna, she had to live it. So apologies to her there. But yeah, it's a great talk. Jenna's fantastic. And yeah, let's get to it. Here is my interview with Jenna Rocher. To start off, I was able to watch the documentary. So I'll start with this. You're a director as well. What do you classify this film as? Because it's not quite documentary and it's not quite concert film, in my opinion.
Okay. I mean, I think it's an observational music documentary or a verite. What I would often like to throw back to like the classic verite music doc, a la Don't Look Back or Gimme Shelter. I mean, that was sort of the focus going in with RJ was like, okay, we're doing this. Watch Don't Look Back again.
So that was like the point of reference that you guys used for like, that's our
yeah.
What do you call it? Guidestone?
Yeah. Like Hannah Baker, Maisels, like let's go back and rewatch these observational, music documentaries and just kind of use them as inspiration, as sort of a reference, as whatever. And we did. And I think it was great. I mean, I love Don't Look Back. I love Gimme Shelter. They're two of my favorite films. So yeah, that we did that first. And I think, given that we knew that, RJ had met with Billie and her family and, and knew that she was about to embark on a journey, And so that was sort of the perfect starting point for any like observational film, because it's not like we're referring back into time of things that happened. It's happening. So we're just like jump in and get on the bus and take the ride, So that's how it sort of played out ultimately.
Yeah, because I obviously I was aware of Billie because the radio and impossible to miss the girl. But I in my head, it all happened at once. And so I was watching the documentary and I was like, how do you get all these cameras like ready to go? Like, why is this being paid for? And then I realized she had an EP. Duh. Like Ocean Eyes was how many years? Like 2 years earlier?
Yeah, it was a few. I mean, she recorded Ocean Eyes, like she was 13, 14. It was a few years prior. So she had a building audience, She had a good, pretty solid fan base, but not mainstream fan base. Like she had hardcore fans. She had a really strong fan base, but she was about to enter what we see as like mega stardom. So, yeah, it was one of those things, when RJ contacted me and he literally said like, hey, check this artist out. I think you're going to be intrigued, and I want to collaborate with you on this film. I think it's without a doubt will be a verite film, as we love to make. And I said, great. And I saw a multitude of videos of her, and I was just like, I don't need to see any more. She's incredible. I want to know more. Let's,
Yeah. And so had you worked with RJ in the past, or what was your relationship with him like?
So I have worked with him in the past. Yeah, I was an additional camera person on September Issue, which was his film about Vogue, about Anna Wintour and Vogue. And that was many moons ago. We shot that film, or I worked on that. the great Bob Richmond was the DP on that. And then I did a short with him for like USA Network about a chef here in Los Angeles, which was really just fun. And we did little things here and there. Those are the main things. But we're, it's a small community, the doc community. And I'm always just, keeping track of what he's up to, and likewise. And, he came to me and he just said, I think you're the right person to shoot this movie about this young artist who's literally evolving quick, and her path it's just erupting. I think it's on the verge of eruption, and I think you'd be the right person to shoot it. So, this was the ultimate collaboration for sure. We had no idea it would turn out to be what it was, because we had no idea what was going to happen with Billy's career. I mean, we had a good sense. We had a good, there was definitely magic in the air from the moment we met her, in the sense that this is not the ordinary artist, mainly because of her age, but also just how unique she is. She's so incredibly unique. I filmed with a lot of musicians, and I've never filmed with anybody like her before. So,
yeah, and that includes the Ringo Starr tribute documentary.
I mean, like every amazing drummer in one room. That was so much fun. Yeah, that was for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That was so much fun. Oh, I've worked with a lot of musicians, but I think one of the main differences is that we were not just filming an independent adult artist. We're filming like a family. We're filming an artist who's under 18. She's a teenager. So it's just that's quickly was the obvious difference at that moment, but it became so much more than that too. It has a lot to do with just the period, the time frame that we were with her. It was just so much going on for her and for her family.
Is the mindset literally just zen out and look for what's good, or are you constantly on a track that's like, I need to be getting X footage, or I need to be making sure that I'm talking to so-and-so, or anything like that?
I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I think when you're making an observational film or verite film, I think some of the most critical things is in terms of just who you are and your approach to dealing with people in their real life. And I think patience, I think compassion, empathy, curiosity. You have to love people. You have to be wanting to go and sort of immerse yourself in someone's world. It's definitely not about you. I think that it's about saying, okay, thank you for letting me in your world, and I respect you, and I will try and take the cues when I need to kind of maybe take a break or not film or back off, so to speak. But I think then there's also simultaneously, and this kind of speaks to RJ's story and his focus on story is like really having a sense of like, okay, what are we filming? What's happening? And kind of keeping that, over here, and then being open to like the surprises. To give an example, when she went and got her license, right? We were there, and the things we knew were like, okay, here's this like, rite of passage moment for any teenager getting their license. It means all these things. Although we did not have any sense of what was going to kind of happen following. And what I mean is like, she gets her license, we're in the car with her, she's having this conversation with her dad about, now I get to be alone in my car. And it's only until she gets back home that she starts to like get ready to leave, and she's leaving, like she's out of there. And I think we're all kind of sort of, I don't know, we were sort of all taken aback by what transpired, because once she left, her dad, kind of goes into this whole moment of realizing that he just said goodbye to his daughter. Like this was the first time that she left the house by herself.
I literally have a note here that says "Dad knows what's up," and it was that exact scene.
I mean, it's so beautiful, and he's such a poet in the way he speaks and the way he thinks. He's such a lovely person, and for him to realize in that moment, and we were just there. I think we were all kind of, and and RJ's a father, so he's connecting with him as a father. But for Patrick, I think there was a moment where he was just standing there, kind of like, she's gone, and this is what's going on for me, and we're just rolling. And then Mom Maggie comes out because she wanted to say goodbye, and she's gone, and we're like this. We never anticipated something like that would unfold, and it just did. And it's, to me, it's so relatable to so many people because, you remember the first time you got your license and you had that freedom, plus what it's like to be a parent, to kind of let go and to live in, as Patrick says, in denial. It's just, it was like poetry in that moment. It just happened. And it was like it's that, those are the moments you have to be patient for, so you're going to film, Billy's getting her license. This is a big mark. Let's get this. But like what happens after was like the gift.
Like you said, it's 100% relatable on so many different levels.
I will add, it's what takes like what is definitely a music documentary, but it's also a coming of age film in that moment,
Yeah, totally.
That's what's sort of beautiful about the film in many ways. It's like, yes, it's about a young person coming of age and a family navigating fame and what it means to have all of their lives transformed in really a short amount of time. So I don't know. It's kind of those two things, and I think that's what's really sort of special about the movie.
Yeah, my thought at the end of it, I remember there's a scene on the bus where she's stressing out about like what the internet thinks and stuff. Mm-hmm. And in the back of my head, I was like, I wish I knew this girl so I could just be like, listen, the starting line's not till you're like 27. You're fine. You're like, just send it. You'll be great.
Yeah. It's like she had to go through that though. I think what's beautiful about that bus scene is like, that's where Billy, to me, really starts to take on she starts to be in charge. She starts to realize like, hey, I was put in a really complicated situation there. Like she was vulnerable, but she was a compromising situation. That's what I meant to really say. And her reaction isn't her reaction is to say, hey, this is not okay. You guys can't let this happen again. Like we're all here because of me. We're all here because I'm the boss. And she started to really, in my opinion, take sort of ownership of that in the most graceful, beautiful way too. It's just like, I don't want to go through that again. And they all responded like, let's not throw her to the wolves, as Mom says, and I think everyone took listen and it changed. There was a shift there. I feel like in that moment in the movie, you really get to see her navigate a lot of things in this movie, not just as a rising star, but as just a young woman who's, growing up. So I think that's kind of the neat thing is to see, because, obviously the young woman growing up is going to be more relatable to people.
Sure.
And that's there. So that's always, for me, like relatability is always kind of an important thing in storytelling.
Yeah. What on a more technical question, what have you learned on previous documentaries that allowed you to do this? But what are you doing technically that allows you to be in the moment and not be too intrusive, but at the same time get the footage that you want? Because I mean, if we really wanted, we'd all be shooting docs on a cell phone, and we'd be very unobtrusive, right? Just whatever you want to do, And there's plenty of cell phone footage in this film, but it's theirs, which works.
Her amazing mother, who has the most incredible foresight of any human being. Yeah. Well, for me, especially preparing for a verite film, I think it's being prepared. Knowing the environments that I'm going to be in, knowing the importance of being fluid. Just making sure it's still recording here. It's fine. And fluidity is key. So, someone like Billy, she's just moving. She's going to a radio station to do an interview. She's off to do a photo shoot. Then she's going backstage, and then she's going to do a show. And so I think for me, it was like, okay, how do I keep myself super lean and keep my footprint down to a minimum? I mean, first and foremost, RJ was very much like, we need to have the smallest, slimmest crew possible to keep the intimacy where we want it, right? So, in most films, like depending on the film, I'll have an AC. In this case, no AC, just me. There were ACs that helped us in other aspects of the film, like the concerts and stuff. But in terms of the day-to-day being with Billy, it was just me, the sound person, and RJ. And maybe a producer would fly by occasionally, but not really. I mean, it was literally the three of us there. And that really lends itself to having the intimacy that you want to get out of the story and out of the subjects. So, and then in terms of gear, I would just, I literally pack for the day. like a mountain, I don't know, like a mountaineer. I have my waist packs with the batteries and my cards, and then I have my lenses all ready to go. And if I'm lucky enough to be in one area for a period of time, I stash just my little things in few more lenses. But I have my go-to kit based on where I think I'm going to be. And so and then I can roll for hours, and often we were there an entire day, and, we'd have little breaks and we'd hang out and just chat with them for a bit. But it was this notion of get ready and we're going in and we're not coming out for a while, and be prepared for that. So that's how I would sort of operate gear wise. And then just kind of, I guess, emotionally, just going in, just keeping it small.
Real small crew.
And you were on the C300 Mark II?
I was on the C300 Mark II. Yeah, the workhorse of all Verite workhorse camera. I mean,
yeah.
It's just the perfect camera for it.
A smaller kind of DSLR size body it doesn't work for me shooting wise. I need a little bit more of a body to work with that I can work well with lenses. And I work on a monopod rig, so that gives me a lot more hours of just being up and ready. I'm never having to pick up my camera. It's just with me, on me. It's part of me. It's hooked into a vest and we're friends. And then I have my little cine saddle in the back, which is sometimes my backrest cushion. Alternates as the front little camera come down, lower eye level, shooting, if people are sitting. I'm just ready for any situation. Got the best sneakers on in case I have to
run.
Do you? I was going to ask, what's your footwear recommendation?
The most comfortable shoes that one can find, they're usually, running shoes, Nike running shoes.
Yeah.
I've shot a lot of.
Got these on, good.
Oh, those are chunky.
Lots of air and cushion to keep the lower back happy.
Yeah. I've shot a lot of concerts, not big ones, but, I was always wearing the Sambas, just the indoor, because the arch support, and then recently I've gotten into those Australian, what are they called, those weird work boots that everyone has.
Red Wings?
No, but I wore those. I wore the Iron Rangers for the longest time, and it felt great shooting. And then afterwards, I was like, "Ow!"
Yeah, yeah, they're good while you have
Blundstone.
Oh yeah, I've heard. Yeah, those are good.
Those have been good, but the footwear thing, it's weird. The more interviews I do, the more I realize we'll get through the gear stuff, but there's other stuff like the Cine saddle is dope. I know.
Godsend. Love it.
The DP Zach Zamboni from Parts Unknown. He did all of Anthony Bourdain stuff. He had a little thing called a hip shot, which would fold away.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. Same thing as the Cine. I mean, I use it for the same reason I use the hip shot is the Cine saddle is my hip shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was your lens package purely utilitarian, or do you have a specific look that you like?
I love the look of the Canon lenses. I love to shoot Verite on 35 primes. So I was shooting on 35 Cine primes, Canon Cine primes. And then, for interiors, I was a lot of the 35. Like I said, I love it. It's if I'm going to be in an environment that's somewhat spatially predictable, then I'll roll on the 35, especially in green rooms and things that just don't have any lighting to offer me. Then I'm okay, let's just let's just get the lensing that's going to help it out, But if I'm in really beautifully lit areas that have just a source of light coming from somewhere, so that's giving me the shadows and giving me like either the half light or the nice frontal on, from the profile or something, then I'm falling on like a 24-70 lens Canon. In the car or being in the exteriors, I was using their 18-80 Cine Zoom. All EF mount, just easy to kind of cart around, even wear on my body if needed. I'd always have the Prime in my little pouch with all my cards and my batteries, and then I'd have like one of my lenses on. And I would stash lenses in the Cine Saddle. Another great thing about that Cine Saddle has pockets. I'd put lenses in there and I'd wear it on me. It was just hilarious. So it was a combination of utilitarian and also just, I like the look of them, especially for Verite. They're fine. They're beautiful. They
do the job,
Yeah. Talking more about the rigging and stuff for concerts, I was always wearing. I don't do it so much anymore. I did a few fashion shoots like this, and I realized I was kind of scaring the talent because I've become more self-aware as to how this looks. And so what I was doing was I had a Molly vest, like a military vest, and so that because it's inexpensive, but they're literally battle tested. So there's there's a magazine dump pouch which folds up into a little pocket like that, but if you pop it open, it's a big pouch where you're supposed to put spent magazines, but it's the perfect size for lenses. So you can have like two of those and just plop them open when you don't need them, fold them up, or water bottle or whatever like that.
There's great stuff out there, like fishermen, whatever, fisherman's vest,
fish people's
vest. They have just pockets and space that you can put things in. I love that. I just have it all on me. And like I said, I could stash it in a corner, then great. But honestly, the Cine Saddle, I literally lean up against the corner, and it's like a back cushion, aside from being being used for other things.
Talk to me about your concert cinematography. What was the approach there? You're in the film, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
I saw that easy rig. Yep.
Well, like when we were at the color, I was like, let's find a way to color this out. And it would have been a massive job, to get me out of there. So we just had to let that go. And it's just funny. It's fine. Everyone's like, you were there, you're behind them. It's obvious. You're behind the bed. Then you cut to the front. It's fine. I'm like, but it's not good. There's a reason I operate a camera. I don't want to see me operating a camera. It's fine. So we... So early on, before we started to do multicam during the concerts, we were on tour with her in Europe, and we literally it would just be me filming. And there's the beauty to just being one camera. RJ said to me, rather than trying, I think maybe it was one of the first times I filmed, I think I was trying to get variety for him. Because when you're one camera, you just, when I'm shooting, obviously a scene in a room, it's just me, but there might be three people having a conversation, right? So I'm doing my best to supply, the editors with enough material that they can cut the scene together. So I was going into the concerts with that, well, gosh, I got to vary the shot or vary my locations so they have stuff to work with. But at the end of the day, it was going to be impossible to get a song if I'm trying to vary up the shot. It's more tricky when you're shooting music. And RJ said to me, just don't worry. Just sit with her. Just be with her. And I was like, that is such a relief to get that direction from him, because it takes I was like, yeah, that's all I really want to be with anyway, is just be with her. And so pick a frame that works for this song and just stay there and don't move. And I did. And so some of this music, some of the performances is just from me being the one camera, and they just use a clip of it. And that's, I think I want to say in Australia, it's kind of a peachy tone. I always refer to the tones of different performances. I think it's, I need to check, but I think it's Listen Before I Go is the song. And she's just singing, and there's these these beautiful faces just singing with her. And I was just parked down, and I just, I was probably on that frame for the whole song, and I didn't vary it up, didn't move. And they used like a good chunk of it because it's just exactly what he was wanting, was just to be with her.
Yeah. And then, so you, for a while you were on single, and then you went to multicam, you said?
And then what RJ did was sort of pick certain shows that he knew she was doing that might benefit from multicam. And so, like South Street Seaport, which is where she's up on the bed and she's crying because she had just broken up with her boyfriend, like that concert, that show, that's multicam. Obviously Coachella was also, we did not shoot Coachella because they have their own crews there that shoot the shows.
Gotcha.
And that, actually that made sense because I really needed to be with her backstage and just be ready for like before she goes on and right when she gets off. Because so much of the story of Coachella, aside from the music, which was amazing to see what her experience was being there, was what was going on for her after the show and before the show. It's a whole interesting sort of story that plays out for her, not just musically and career-wise, but personally, what's happening for her simultaneously. So, but for backing up to South Street Seaport, that was, I think I want to say we had like three or four cameras there. I was always the camera on stage because I knew Billie and she felt comfortable with me. Obviously, I'd spent time doing stage shows with her. So we'd always kind of map out where I was going to be. So I wasn't too much of a distraction for them. And then we'd have this amazing DP, Jessica Young. She was out capturing all those amazing shots of those fans singing along, crying. And then we had another camera in the front as well by another DP named Kenny who was filming that. So we had, we were very selective where we wanted the camera to live based on how Billie performs and what made the most sense. And it was nice to get that because you want to see other angles, you want to see other perspectives. And I think the choice to use a lot of the fans singing was really a great choice editorially because the fans are, as Billie says, she is her fans and her fans are hers. They're part of her. And I think you can't really truly understand her music without understanding her relationship to her fans and the impact she has on their lives,
Yeah, well, plus that visual language is very concert. On the big jumbotrons, you're always getting the audience and all that kind of thing. And you kept the shooting package there? You moved to, I think, Alexa at that point, or?
Yeah, we moved
so I literally would be on the Canon all day long on the Mark II and then right up to the show. But again, there was a lot of shows where when it was just me shooting, I stayed on the Canon the whole time. It was only when we brought multiple cameras that we were on Alexas, and I think we were on a Venice
as well, on one particular.
Really like the Venice.
Yeah. Camera. So we would do that, mix it up.
What was the reasoning for switching to a different system on multicam?
I think we were looking to maybe give the concerts a slight different look, said, why not try and just do something a little bit different, and I can also, I can sustain a rig like that for a show versus it just does not make sense to be shooting for me, particularly in this movie, to be on anything bigger than what I was on, mainly for intimacy and intimacy and fluidity. It just didn't make sense. But for the show, we're like, okay, why don't we just try different looks for the show, different lensing, just to see how we can have maybe a slight distinction visually between the shows and between the Verite with Billie. So that's what we did.
What were the lenses there?
We were on Arri Super Speeds on primes.
Okay.
Yeah. We were on Super Speeds.
Well, and it's probably, it's kind of the obvious answer, but like the Canon bodies have so much more, there's so much more built for a solo operator. It's a lot of, you got your NDs in there, you got all your audio, you got all the buttons.
Yeah.
Love the buttons. Mini has no buttons.
Yeah.
No, for me, it's not a Verite. It's not a Verite camera. The Canon is an operator friendly camera. It's just, and the profile, even though the mini's not much, not that much bigger, it's that you have to build out the mini and it just becomes a beast. Whereas the Canon, you could still use the lithium batteries that keep it small. You could still, for me, I have a monopod. So like literally the Mark II is like part of my body. Like it's just here. And that's how I shoot it. And I literally could just hang out and talk, when I'm not shooting, with it just sitting here with the lens, and it was just the right thing. It was just right. And it also was great for the shows that I did shoot on it. It was wonderful because again, it goes back to that, like, I didn't have to cover the whole concert the way one might think they have to. I was given this sort of blessing of direction from RJ just to like hunker down and be with her, for wherever you want to be, wherever you think is right for that song. Yeah. And I think the Canon did great. It's so good in low light. It's ridiculous. It can handle so much.
Have you seen, the Canon's going to have to start sponsoring the podcast because we end up talking about this all the time, but I own a 500 Mark II. Have you seen that? Have you played with that?
Oh yeah, I love it. Great camera. Yeah.
Do you think everyone's going to switch to that, or do you think the industry, or the 300 Mark III, or do you think the sort of doc industry is going to stick with tried and true for a long time? Because I know especially in the sort of film television world, no one wants a curveball. No one wants a new anything.
I know they get very accustomed to a certain camera, and they want
Codex. Post doesn't want anything new.
Oh yeah, Codex.
Don't be giving me new Codex and get everyone all crazy. People have been embracing both of those, the C500 and the new C300 Mark III. They've been both embraced already. So I think everyone's are shooting on these. I think people want they want to have an LF option, a full frame option. So, particularly with whatever they're shooting, whether it's an interview. I think full frame's a little trickier with Verite in terms of focus, but it's doable. You can make adjustments to accommodate, to try and make it feel comfortable for the operator. But I still think it's such a, like, operating wise, it's such a great camera for run and gun for Verite, and it provides such a beautiful image. So it's just always been the no-brainer for me. I've shot on a lot of films with it.
Switching gears a little bit, I've always said that like there's certain bands that have influenced my filmmaking style. Is there anything that they have taught you about filmmaking?
All I could say is I've filmed with artists in studio. I've filmed artists performing over the years. And you very much feel like you're part of it, like musically, like when I'm filming an artist on stage, I feel like it so much influences the way I shoot and the way I feel behind the camera. Right. So I have to just be careful not to like dance or move my body because I'm reacting to the music like it's just a human being. Like that's going to not look good. But I feel like it does sort of impact the way that I approach things because, cinematography, especially in documentary, it has so much to do with your confidence. And that takes a while to nurture because you have to know like, okay, this is where I need to be right now. And I have to be okay with it. I can't start switching it up. There's nothing more annoying to a director or an editor to be like, why didn't you hold on that? Or why are you trying to move it? Just stop,
Thorsten brought that up.
What's that?
Thorsten brought that up.
Just be okay with your decision. It might not be the best, but just be okay with it. And there'll be the moment to move and reapproach from another place. I think it's interesting filming people who are making art, too, is like that you're not, it's sort of like, in certain countries when you photograph, it's a sin and it feels like they feel like you're just stealing their soul. I don't mean to laugh at that. It's really real. And so I feel like for artists, like when you're filming them making music, or performing, there's this element of like, you're taking from me. And I always try and make it feel as if, no, this is circular. Like this is I'm giving and taking, and you're giving and taking, and it's shared, you know. So I think that I can't say that I know like an actual band. I mean, I do. I'm a huge Radiohead fan. I'm a huge Bjork fan. I'm very much into artists that are very cinematic in the way they make their music. So they inspire me, you know. I actually worked on a series. I produced a series many years ago called Sonic Cinema, and it was for Sundance Channel, and it was about how music and film converged. So it was a lot about music videos that were done by Roman Coppola and by Spike Jonze
and by Michel Gondry, right? Yeah.
Getting all excited now.
Yeah.
Definitely going to have to watch that documentary.
There was a band
series.
That I don't know if you're familiar with the band Sparkle Horse. They were from way back, right? So they were a band that actually they joined forces with all these directors to make videos for their album. And that was our entire episode, was like all these, Danny Clinch was a big music photographer. He made a video. One of the band members made a video. The Brothers Quay. I don't know if you know the Brothers Quay. There's like,
do not know the Brothers Quay.
There are these experimental filmmakers who work with puppets. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
Very
Interesting. Like stop motion. And it was really cool because, you know, the music guided these little films. And Sparkle Horse's music is really very cinematic and very, very, gives a lot of room for breath and for visual. So your imagination starts to kind of go awry when you think of like that music. So when I'm like hunkered down with a band, and I've filmed with like Dave Matthews Band for many occasions and Fish, and I just kind of like really sort of feel like I'm part of it in a way. It's like if I'm on stage, I feel like I'm like a kind of another instrument in a strange, odd way. I'm not making music, but I'm part of it in some way, shape, or form. And so it starts to affect the way I shoot. I notice like when you start to spend time with musicians, you kind of like know when you want to go down to their guitar because they're going to do a solo, and then you're going to want to sort of make your way up the neck of the guitar and then sort of triangle back up to their face and get back, and it just becomes like this thing, you know. And I got to do a lot of that when I'm in the studio with artists, and I love it. It's so much fun to do. And Billy's just, I couldn't resist not wanting to jump when I would be filming her, because I'm the not just from her performance, but the reaction from the crowd that she's playing to was just like, oh, it was such a rush, you know. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, but Sonic Cinema was like literally very much what you're speaking to, because that was a whole series I did. So
no, I literally, you just jazzed me up for like, now we could go for another hour. I just picked up that
watch some Spike Jonze videos.
So Spike Jonze inspired me in such a big way when I was a kid, and not for the reason that everyone says. So like, I literally last week was able to pick up that Spike Jonze, Michel Gondry, whoever the third guy is, I'm really blowing this, but that DVD box set of like all of their, which people who went to film school before me were like, this was our Bible. And I was just never able to pick it up. Mm-hmm. My friend Trent just was like, man, I've got 2 copies of that. It's easy to find. I was like, screw you, man. It's like $200. But so Spike Jonze, I kept going. I grew up, early 90s. It was a lot of like skateboard films and stuff like that. Jackass comes out. And while I'm enjoying all of that, I'm watching all these other movies and stuff that I like. And then one day as I started to get into film, I realized he was the linchpin for like all of that work. And it blew my fucking mind. Cause like, I didn't realize you could make Jackass and being John Malkovich.
Sofia Coppola, even though I don't know if she's done music videos, but her films always feel very musical to me too. She also has incredible taste in music. So, I think certain filmmakers just choose to use music that's very cinematic. They use Air, like band Air. They use like, I don't know. There's just, I could go on about it.
Well, and I think that goes back to the flow state thing you were talking about, working with musicians and being in that environment and kind of embodying it. There was a quote I just heard from John Mayer. He was talking about fonts, but I like the idea of your brain doesn't know, but your heart will.
Yeah.
You know, he was talking about using free fonts on album covers. He's like, don't fucking send me a free font because I'll know. But it's true. Like, there's certain things that you can't articulate that only happen in the moment that make the project better.
Mm-hmm.
And I've started to realize as I've done these interviews that, like, there's certain, you know, I was asking the internet, like, what kind of questions would you ask if you had this opportunity to interview all these DPs? And at a certain point, there's a lot of gear questions, but at a certain point they start going like, well, what was the thing that took you to the next level? What was, you know, they want what I would call expert tutorials. Mm. And it's like, once you're an expert, I feel like it's that flow state you're talking about. It's not something you teach people.
It's not calculated, and it isn't something you can teach. You know, it's so funny. If someone said to me right now, I want to shoot documentary films, what film school should I go to? I would probably say to them, I'm not saying don't go to film school, but if maybe double major, go to, you know, study film, but also major in anthropology. That would be my best suggestion, because you know, or psychology or
sociology, whatever,
or business.
Or business.
Well, that's if you want to make money, which, you know, documentaries is not known for being, you know. But I think it's about, and again, it goes back to things you can't teach. Like, are you a curious person? Are you a people person? Like, are you patient? I'm not patient. My husband can attest to this. I'm not patient in my normal life at home as a domestic partner, but I'm really patient when it comes to filming people. And I think you have to give people room and space to just be. You know, it's important to be someone that people can feel comfortable around, right? That's just something you have. You either have it or you don't. You can't train to like be someone who people feel comfortable around. You either have it, right? Or someone, but I could say curiosity and patience and compassion and empathy, you know, these are all things you need.
And
so that's
confidence, I think, is
and
big.
Confidence, yes, as a director and as a cinematographer, confidence is imperative, because your crew needs to feel like, you know, as if you're a director, obviously your crew needs to feel like they're in good hands, and, you know, there's some focus, and there's a path that we're taking here and a vision. And then I also think as a cinematographer, your director's counting on you to get the goods. You know, there's not just especially in documentaries now, it's like, it's not just get this unbelievable compelling scene, but we're shooting with often the same cameras that they're using in narrative fiction films. And so like we're filming and we're having to like make it look gorgeous. And it's also like someone is in this incredibly insane situation and we're filming it, you know? So there's a lot of pressure to kind of be present. And those are all things that I think you can't really teach necessarily. I think it has to just come from life experience.
Would you agree that I think this is the secret to confidence, is that confidence is not something you feel, it's something you ignore? Like the best way that I have found to describe how to be confident for myself was like, it's when you it's when you agree to stop questioning yourself.
Yes.
No one, you go into war with an 80% plan at best.
Yeah.
So just, you know.
No, I think for me, the confidence as a DP came when I wasn't so nervous to watch my footage back. You know, there came a point where for many years, like I'd do a shoot and I was always like waiting for the phone call from post or something like, Jenna, you know. And let me say right off the bat that so much of my education as a documentary cinematographer, particularly in verite filmmaking, comes from editors. Because if you're not supplying the goods to them, they will tell you if they're a good, honest editor and they want you to learn and they want to help you out. And so I've learned so much from editors over the years, particularly an editor named Anat Sidi, who's this incredible doc. She's edited recently. No, wait, she didn't. She's done she did Jesus Camp for starters, which I shot on, and she did. There's my mail person. Sorry, and then she did many of Heidi and Rachel's films. I think she did Detropia, and she did. I think she worked on. I'm not to name a few.
She has an IMDb.
She has an IMDb if you want to check her out. She's incredible. But really, I learned so much from editors, and I think the moment for me was like when I started to be like, I felt good about what I shot. I was happy with my composition. I was happy with my dedication to what I was shooting, and I'm not worried about post calling anymore, or I'm not like needing to go in the car on the lunch break and play back my footage, watch it. Like those were the early days, and now I'm like, okay, I felt good about it. Or you know what? It was a day that wasn't great. There was some snafus, either just in human life or technically happening, whatever it is, and just more accepting of it. Like, okay, fine. And maybe that's just me being older now too. I just let stuff go. I don't just get hung up on anything anymore.
Yeah. Well, and I think that speaks to, obviously, like you're saying, experience, but speaking of Jackass, one thing that Johnny Knoxville said that I really appreciated was if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah.
Failing's part of it.
Yes.
You don't start off with a rip-roaring reel day one, You got to build it.
You have to build it. You have to build. It's so many things. Yeah. And you have to be okay with where you're at. There's always that saying, you're only as good as your last gig. And I truly believe that, it's not to say that the work I did 10 years or 5 years ago, there's been great projects. But I think that it really calls upon you to just, it's so different. It's like we're such a chameleons, especially in documentary. I've shot in so many different environments where people have been abused, environments where people have been, things like Billy stuff, like people who are celebrating life and performing and, but I've been in situations that are dark, really dark. And it's you learn how to adapt and to just kind of bear witness to what's in front of you, and just to approach it with the most compassion and sympathy and empathy and sensitivity that you can. That's all you can do. That's all that other humans expect of you. And so that's why I strangely think it's just not for everybody. Not everyone wants to go into a foreign country and into an area that's has violence or history of violence or devastation in some way. It's not for everyone. So I think the few that decide to do it are crazy enough to do it, and they do it because they love it. They do it because they love the work. So
I like to wrap up every podcast asking the same things. I've learned not to put the second one in the first question. What everyday thing, whether it be an item or a life change or whatever, have you adopted in your life that has made you a better cinematographer?
Oh, wow. Oh, trying to listen as much as I can. It's just keeping the muscle of listening going, trying to listen to my children, trying to listen to my husband, trying to listen to my family. Listening is really important, I feel like, and particularly in the type of work that I do with documentaries, because it's so much about listening and just being present for whoever you're filming. I think I'm so inspired. I mean, I watch movies. I do yoga to keep my back in good health because that's imperative. but I also watch films, and I watch fiction, I watch nonfiction, I watch it all. Because I get so much inspiration from my fellow storytellers out there. And so I don't watch every day. It's hard often, but I watch anytime I feel like I have the energy and I want to watch something. And I don't waste my time on any more like guilty pleasures, although I do have some guilty pleasures. I really try and spend the time like watching a doc that someone told me was like, you need to see this movie, or, oh, this series is amazing, this fiction series or whatever. So just try to keep watching.
Yeah. I actually, this year I started the movie a day challenge for myself. And immediately I'm already like 20 films behind. Over the weekend, I did like 4 a day.
Nice. Oh, that's good. There you go.
Yeah, but there were a lot of guilty pleasures thrown in there. I figure I'm going to front load all those and then eat the vegetables later.
There you go.
Criterion just had a 50% off sale, so I bought a crap ton of those Blu-rays.
Nice. Criterion's got good stuff.
Well, and it's their lineup is basically like, it's better if you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, they've got, it's not this, but like, oh, they've got Ocean's 12. What's House? Oh my God. So to final question, is there anything you want to promote besides obviously the documentary? Is there any personal projects you're working on that you're excited about?
I have a few things in the mix. There's really great projects that are coming, but I can't talk about them right now because they haven't been really released. But I am, I not particularly want to promote anything. I think I really want to just keep doing what I do. I love what I do. I'm so grateful for the fact that I have a body that allows me to do my job. I'm not, I'm not sick. I'm healthy. I'm able to get out there. And I just love it. I love, love, love how much people embrace documentaries now. I really do. I'm so loving the way people embrace films. And I'm loving the way people embrace this movie, because this movie it kind of relates to everybody. It's relatable. There is something I think that each and every person can connect to.
Totally.
That I'm grateful for.
And I'll say, as the resident metalhead, like, I actually do like Billie Eilish's music, but you don't have to enjoy her music to enjoy the film necessarily. It's not
so true.
It's definitely although, man, being able to edit with those tunes, that's got to be a blessing.
Yeah.
Oh, what are we going to put here? Pick one of her songs.
Yeah. Well, and I
don't know, really, I know where to go, but the thing that I love about the movie so much, and it was RJ's intention, he said it very early on. He goes, this is going to be a musical. I was like, a musical? And it really is a musical. If you really pay attention to the songs that follow certain scenes, they really tie in, in terms of her story. It's like the songs are written for these scenes, even though they were written far before, because the songs are written for her life. They're a reflection of her life and her, what she's been through and what Phineas and she have created together, Yeah. It's really special. So I hope more and more people see it. And I've already, been hearing tons of feedback from many friends and family who've seen it and they love it. Like people who you wouldn't think would connect to Billie Eilish, they do. She's just universal in that way. And that's what's, I think, pretty awesome about the film itself. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for spending this past hour with me. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Nice.
And hopefully we can have you on again, talk about something else.
Yeah, for sure. I would love it. Thank you, Kenny. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Well, take care.
All right. Take care.
Frame and Reference is an Owlbot production. It's produced and edited by me, Kenny McMillan, and distributed by Pro Video Coalition. Our theme song is written and performed by Mark Pelly, and the F at our Matbox logo was designed by Nate Truax of Truax Branding Company. You can read or watch the podcast you just heard by going to provideocoalition.com or youtube.com/owlbot, respectively. And as always, thanks for listening.